Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, Paul Downs, Dana White, and Laura Zander talk about the lessons they'll take from 2021 and what they're hoping to accomplish in 2022. Paul thinks he's found an alternative sales channel that will lessen his dependency on Google. Laura, who built Jimmy Bean's Wool on e-commerce, is planning a renewed emphasis on brick-and-mortar retail. And Dana White is rebuilding the team that will help her pursue her remarkable opportunities with franchising and the military. Plus, all three talk about how they feel showing up at work in a brand new car. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. Same thing with our daily newsletter, the 21 Hats Morning Report, which highlights the most important news of the day for business owners and which you can subscribe to at 21hats.com, where you can also find transcripts of our podcast episodes and lots of other articles and interviews. And please stick around at the end of the podcast when Steve Kroll will explain in his Marketing Minute how to target a decision maker with your B2B marketing. Joining me this week on the podcast are regulars Paul Downs, who is CEO of Paul Downs Cabinet Makers, which makes custom conference tables outside of Philadelphia. Dana White, who is CEO of Paralee Boyd, a chain of hair salons based in Detroit. And Laura Zander, who is CEO of Jimmy Bean's Wool, a digital yarn store based in Reno, Nevada, and Madeline Tosh, a yarn supplier based in Fort Worth, Texas. The episode is titled, Are You Playing Offense or Defense? Welcome, Paul, Dana, and Laura. It's great to have you here. We somehow seem to have made it all the way into December. I'm not sure how that happened, but I thought it might be a good time to take a little bit of a look back and kind of ask, what did we learn this year? Maybe I'll start with you, Paul. You've been running your business the longest, but is there anything you know today that you didn't know a year ago?
Well, business is considerably easier when the government shovels money at you.
You might not want to count on that to happen too many more times.
No, I just got a check for the ERTC yesterday, $142,000, and
that's the employee retention tax credit.
Yes, and the gravy train will be over as of January 1st, I guess, and I'll have to go back to scrambling for money. What else did I learn? Not much.
Well, you have been doing this a while.
I have been doing it a while.
Was there anything you tried this year? Did you do anything different?
Well, okay, here's something. We just wrapped up our GSA contract. It's finally been received and it's official. And that was the third time in the last 15 years I've tried to do it.
Tell us what that is.
GSA contract is a purchase agreement that one enters into with the federal government in which you offer a set of items at a negotiated price that is better than you're offering to anybody else. And this allows government buyers to purchase those items with very minimal bureaucracy. The alternative being, if you're selling to the government, you often have to, the buyer has to get several bids for the service, and you may lose out at that point. So we've tried to do this a number of times, and it's a complicated application process. And this time I hired consultants as opposed to the other two times when I tried to do it myself.
That's an important lesson.
Yes, and I would say that the lesson is hire a consultant who's familiar with the exact kind of service you're offering or product, because there's a number of strange things about furniture and the way furniture is sold that general consultants aren't going to understand, but our consultants went through like champs. And I know that having followed the questions that were asked and the answers they gave, that there's no chance we would have been able to have a successful interaction with the government examiners. So there you go.
I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but can you give us a hint? What's weird about selling furniture? Why is that tricky?
The practice in furniture is for furniture companies to publish what are called list prices on everything that they sell, and the actual selling price can be considerably lower because of discounts that are offered in the process. And the discounts are done in a way that it's hard to figure out why it's done that way. In other words, instead of just saying, hey, here's an item, it's $100, we're going to sell it to you for $50, 50% discount. It's often expressed as, we're going to sell it as a 50% discount and then another 10% on that and then another 6% on that and then maybe 3% back in your pocket as a kickback. So the actual selling price can be like 35% of what the list price is. And what everybody ends up doing is publishing catalogs with enormously inflated list prices and then negotiating gigantic discounts back with the government. And so that it's like, well, what's the catalog even for? That's very counter to our normal practice of just telling people what we expect them to pay without any hidden discounts. And so we had to get familiar with how everybody else does it and make sure that everything we said kind of worked within that system.
Are you playing the same game everybody else plays now?
Yep, absolutely, because that's the way it goes.
Wow. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, at the end of the day, the government is getting a good deal. It just looks very strange if you're trying to work your way through their process.
Laura, how about you? Learn anything this year?
This has been a big year. A couple things. One, on the business side of things, I've learned that I don't need to be involved in all the details. And things are actually, they run much smoother when I'm not involved in all the details and when I just give. I've learned I'm still learning, but I'm much better at describing what we want done, not how we want it done, and letting the team figure out the how. And being okay with the fact that they may not do it the way that I would have done it, but they're getting really good results. And that's been a very uncomfortable, and like I said, I'm still working on it. I'm actually reading What Got You There or What Got You Here Won't Get You There right now. And it's really hitting close to home. So that's a big one. And the other thing that I've learned, Lauren, you wrote an article in Bloomberg about a year ago about our industry.
The knitting industry.
The knitting industry, yes, and diversity and inclusion, and some of the women of color that have not been treated equally. And we took a stand, on all of our platforms, and have stood with these women and with the BIPOC community very publicly. And I have learned that if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. There's some hubbub that's been going on this week. Michelle Obama was just on our industry's leading knitting magazine, which was, it's just what a huge accomplishment. And, just how amazing and incredible to have this woman be the face on this magazine, because she learned in it during the pandemic. And some people made some disparaging comments about it. And, so there's, a huge conversation going on for the last 4 or 5 days. And again, we've stood up and held our ground, and I'm really proud. I've learned that if you stand up for what you believe in, it doesn't mean you're going out of business. There's so much fear.
How about you, Dana? I suspect you've learned a few things this year.
I have. Keep going is the biggest. It's a hard one to call, because it's a matter of, everybody says, keep going, but learning what that actually means as a business owner, what it means to keep going. I've learned a lot about myself, especially from the last episode where I was on here with you, and, learning that, navigating that line between being a bitch, who I'm absolutely not. A lot of your listeners, messaged me and said, that's just not who you are. I don't even know you, but that's not you. Navigating that line between thinking that's what I need to do and demanding professionalism, which you helped me out with and helped me, begin to see what that meant. And also realizing that as business owners, we don't just come to the table as business owners. As with people in most positions, we come with baggage. And me really sitting down as my business grows, right, through franchising and, potential military opportunities, and saying, what am I bringing to the table from childhood that is impeding my ability to demand professionalism, have the hard conversations, and do what needs to be done. And so my lesson from this year is being in a space that knows not only where I need to go, but exactly where I am and why I'm there. Specifically, this is who you need to be the leader of this company with this opportunity. Understanding that you're not there yet, understanding why, so you can daily navigate that growth so you can get there. Because the woman I am today has some growth to do before she can, be the franchisor of 5 to 10 locations and potentially have salons on military bases. There's a voice that she has to find in order to say, I know I'm paying you, but I need you to do the job that I need you to do, instead of paying people to not do what they say they're doing. And I hadn't found that voice until recently. So it's about knowing my power, understanding why I've fallen short of realizing what my power is, based on, all the stuff I brought through my experiences in life, having a vision as to the type of CEO and owner I want to be, and working every day to get to that person, and prayerfully having people put around me, like Jay had people brought into his life that, were on this journey with him that made his company better. And hopefully that I keep those people that are on this journey with me that'll make this company better. And more importantly, start attracting those people. And part of the reason why I haven't is because I wasn't demanding professionalism, and I haven't been the CEO I've needed to be to attract those stellar people. It's more than money. It's also where you are as a person. I think money is a part of it. So that's, keep going, know where you are, where you want to be, and what you're going to do, and what you need to do to get there. That has been my biggest lesson. And don't be afraid of debt. Debt is huge. But before you take it on, have a plan for it to the penny if you can.
It sounds like we're on a similar path too, and just kind of trying to figure out, like, where are we in this leadership journey, if you will, and who are we? Because I feel like over the last year, I have also really learned I'm not a CEO. I'm an owner. I'm an owner operator.
What's the difference that you're drawing our attention to, Laura?
It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference.
I'm a small business. I own a small business. Right now, and for the last 9 months, I have been in the office maybe 1 day a week. I've been kind of trying to I have been reclaiming my fitness, my personal life, all the things that I put on hold for the last 5 years to rebuild the business and to kind of try to save the business. But I'm not some fancy CEO that's, I don't know, it just feels like a huge difference. CEOs don't go and build racking. They don't help move boxes during the move. I mean, maybe some of them do, but they're fancier, probably smarter.
I mean, I got to say that I think that if you're the owner, showing up and helping with the racking is actually probably one of the best things you can do, as long as it doesn't take over your whole life, because it demonstrates to your team that you've got some sympathy for the whole operation. So that's one of the things that, now that my time is freed up from operational roles, I like having the flexibility to jump back in. Now, different businesses are different sizes make that choice different. But for where I am, it's one of the things that I do. And it also gives me a good sense of what's happening in the business a couple layers down that I wouldn't otherwise see. So I wouldn't beat myself up about that.
Well, it just, when we just moved, so we moved into this new building a couple weeks ago, and it was interesting as I was trying to figure out how involved do I get in the move and the layout of this building, right? So I go for a couple of days and I'm moving boxes and I'm putting stuff in the container and, I'm working with the movers. But when it comes to laying out the space, I consciously decided just to back off, and these guys, my team knows how the space is going to be most efficient. I'm talking about, even the retail space, even the customer facing space. I'm just like, here's the kind of look I like. Here's what we want to accomplish. Go for it. If I can help, let me know. What do you need?
Is that working?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Compared to 5 years ago, and I've probably mentioned this before, but we're shipping out just as many packages as we did 5 years ago with half the staff because I just, quit screwing around and quit like sticking my nose in and quit trying to help and just let them do what they do best and letting them, fail, if you will.
Do you really think you're twice as productive because you're not in the day-to-day as much?
I think that that's absolutely 100% a part of it. Absolutely.
I agree with her. I agree with Laura. My business, runs differently. I think it is good when, like, I've been spending a lot more time in the salon and they see me, but my business is a little different. Although they're like, oh, wow, that's Dana. They freeze. And they don't perform as well. I conducted an interview this week with a staff member whose job it is to do the interview. And I know she's capable of doing it, but could barely get a sentence out.
There's the nervousness and the performative part of it as well.
Yep. And we had a meeting based on, okay, why is it when Dana's here, everybody is stuck on, dysfunction? Like they're dropping combs and flat. Like, what is going on? And they said it's kind of like having a superstar in here because in this industry, there's nobody that looks like us that's doing what you're doing. And so I have to be mindful of how relatable here I am. Yay, Dana. And they're like, oh my God, Dana. So I have to navigate that line. And that's uncomfortable for me because I too am an owner operator with CEO traits. Right. I'll go in there, but I want the business to run without me because that to me is a successful business. If the owner has to be there for things to get done, then why are you franchising?
Yeah.
Because you can't be in every state. I've noticed, and I'm with you, Laura, that when you step away and let them make mistakes, and I've let them make mistakes, but they don't want to make them in front of me.
Yes, exactly.
That was said, stop coming to trainings. They're like, Dana, could you please stop coming to trainings? Because they're feeling like I can't learn with Dana standing here because I want to show her that I've got it.
Exactly. That's a great point.
Dana, this is the first time we've spoken since you and I had our one-on-one conversation. I caught you at a really interesting moment. You had just come back from a very successful trip to Germany, but you were met with a couple of resignation letters, and you were feeling the pain. Can you give us a quick update? What's happened since then? How have things been going?
Sure. So the person I have as the operations manager has moved more into administrative capacity. And we're going to talk, in the month of December about how that looks as far as performance and pay. The manager is gone, and that's okay. Our stylist trainer is involved, but we understand that their vision may not equal our vision. Their vision for what they want for themselves may not align with the opportunity. And so we're looking for people that, will get it. And I think we'll find those people. But right now I am where I am. To me, I've gotten the scissors out and I'm cutting. I'm cutting because I found out some of the crux of my problem was I'm paying people who aren't doing what they say they're doing. Once I got more involved in my business, I'm like, what do you mean this isn't done? I'm getting reports out that it's done. I'm here in the salon and it's not done. So it's like, okay, since that's not what you're going to do, then we need to find somebody who's going to do it. The anxiety is alive and well, and anxiety is a close friend that wakes me up every morning and stays with me throughout the day. I too, love what Laura just said about reclaiming my time. And because my time has been paralee time. And so tomorrow I turn the big 4-5, right? I saw 45 years on this earth as of tomorrow. And
happy birthday.
Thank you, kind sir. And I'm going to reflect, but project. And in my 45th year, I want to get back with my fitness, connect with people that feed me, not feed me because they assuage my anxiety over my business, but just give me the confidence to move forward. I'm definitely going to reach out to Laura because I need some more of those, hitting close to home books on my reading list. But yeah, I had a breakdown, which I needed. But that was quick. And then I got back to work.
Okay, books. Lauren, can you do a book club? Or like a book recommendation once a week or once a month in the 21 Hats?
That'd be good.
And then I was also going to ask, could you do a gift guide? Maybe you could just like have a list or something of like places that we could buy gifts. Like if anybody needs a really nice conference table for their house, then we would know to go to Paul.
Yeah, just keep in mind that they don't fit in a stocking.
Well, yeah, a big stocking.
Laura, this sounds like an assignment you might want to take on. You have some free time now that you're not getting so involved in the day-to-day.
Yeah, I'd help with that. I'd totally help with that. That'd be fun.
Actually, the book that got mentioned, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, that's one of the very few business books I've ever read, and it is pretty good. Because when you're small, you get used to doing, whatever your pattern of behavior, and then company changes, you do have to change.
Yep. Dana and I, we were talking offline before we started the podcast about getting new cars. And Dana just got a new car after 15 years. It's her first new car in 15 years. I'm about to possibly get my first new car in 10 years. And there's this shame associated with it, an embarrassment. And I'm like, I don't want to drive up to work in a
you're, just to be clear, your embarrassment is not that you were driving a 15-year-old car. Your embarrassment is that you're going to be driving a new car?
Yes.
And you don't want to be seen by employees? Is that it?
Correct.
No. Well, kind of, yes. So I've had my new car for a week and it was a beautiful experience. Thank you for that. But I was excited and sick to my stomach because it's a beautiful automobile and I get in it. And here's the question. With everything that I talked about last time I was on the podcast, with all that's going on right now, I deserve to be in a 15-year-old car that shakes after going 40 miles per hour on the highway. That's what I don't deserve this car until my business profits so much money and I'm where I want to be. And my people just laughed at me. They're like, okay, Dana,
so this will be the most profitable year that we've ever had. And so I would have thought, given following your logic, that now I deserve to have this really nice car. I want to get a Jeep Wrangler. It's not like it's some crazy nice car, but, and it's actually the reverse, because now I'm like, this is the most profitable year that we've done. And I still, we're still paying people $15, $20 an hour, $25 an hour, whatever. If we've had such a profitable year, why don't I double everybody's salary? Why don't I give everybody the money that I would spend on this new car? Like, why would I spend it on myself?
I don't feel that way.
Wait. Let me just. I don't think you spent enough on that new car to double everybody's salary.
No, that's a great point. No, you're right. It's not that nice of a car. Yeah.
Depending on the car. Depending on the car. Maybe not double it for a year, but definitely give out bonuses. I don't feel that way. I think my staff, makes a pretty fair wage. I just feel that my business I expected I'd be further in the 9 years that I'm open. And I didn't think I'd be able to have the type of car I wanted or the type of car that's in my garage right now until I was at that point. And the fact that I've gotten it before that point makes me anxious and it makes me nauseous.
Paul, do you worry about how you drive up to your business?
No, he's a white man.
No, I'm not an auto guy, and everybody knows that. And I drive a used Prius, and it's a cheapo car, and I just don't care.
Would you feel uncomfortable driving in a fancy new car?
Probably, and not for the sake of the employees, because I think that there's an interesting thing where if you're too out of the norm as a boss, like if you're running up against what people expect from a boss and you're always more humble and more giving and what have you, I think that there's the possibility that people will just respect you less. That if you at a certain point just like, it's my business, I'm going to spend the money, and that's if you want that experience, start your own business. That people are baffled if a boss isn't what they think a boss should be.
That's a great point. And that book has really kind of started to help me recognize that the way I think people see me or the way I want people to see me is probably not the way that people see me.
My staff expects me to drive what I'm driving. And ever since I've been driving it and they've seen me, it's like, it's almost made the Dana a little bit worse. How much my staff makes, what my staff thinks of me, those are not my issues. My issue is I should not be driving this until my business is in a healthier position. Whereas other people are saying to me, you should be driving this because you worked your butt off for 9 years. And I'm like, well, if I worked my butt off, my business would be in a better situation. So there's all of this back and forth with myself that I struggle with every time I press unlock.
Dana, I want to go back to something you said early on, which is that one of the things you learned this year is you can't be afraid of debt. Are you in the process, or have you just taken on more debt?
Yes. The EIDL, that's debt.
At a good rate.
It's debt at a good rate, but it's debt, and it's 30 years of debt. So if I pay it off 75 years old. And so you look at your business and you go, what is going to be the opportunity, or how fast can I grow my business so I'm not in debt up to my ears at 60, 70 something years old? And so that's the conversation I want to have with Jay at some point. And I've been told, well, if you're going to sell your company, don't worry about debt. It shouldn't be exorbitant, but the sale will absorb it. Okay. So it's about growing the company again, growing the company till I feel like I get to deserve the car I want, and growing the company so I feel like this debt will still, won't hinder my ability to run this business or sell this business if the time comes and I choose to.
Do you feel that you have the capital you need to pursue all the opportunities you have in front of you, the military, the franchising?
No, I don't. And so that's not, as a small business, I'll need, in order to pursue with the military, I'll need anywhere from 200,000 or less per base. Right. And so that, I don't have that with all the bases that they have listed. I don't have that right now. And so I do foresee myself taking on more debt in order to realize this opportunity. However, these are different opportunities than private salons. I'm doing it. It's just me. I'm a captive audience at Fort Bragg. So that's huge. My dear friend who I love, the owner of Good Cakes and Bakes, her name is April. She always reminds me, stop thinking that your past with your business here in Detroit is indicative of your future of Paralee Boyd and other cities and what you're going to do. Please don't. Because then if that's the case, close tomorrow. If that's how it's going to be forever, no, go get a job. Because it's not going to be worth it. It's not. It's going to be different. And based on the franchise inquiries we've gotten over 70, almost 90 franchise inquiries. Even if 3 of those turn out to be viable, we're on our way.
Are you close to being in a position to actually sell a franchise?
No, because my lack of confidence slowed the process down. And talking to people who don't understand what I'm doing in my industry. Like I said, I think I've said on this podcast before, I talked to a guy who's like, yeah, since you don't have 7 locations, you shouldn't be franchising. And it jarred me. And he said, well, why don't you have 7 locations? I said, where am I going to get the money to open 7 locations? He's like, your friends and family.
But you were confident enough to pay the franchise guy, weren't you?
I know. I was. But this happened after.
I know, but you got to chase that money.
Mental health stuff. I'm serious. Of anybody here that the things that you tell yourself
absolutely
can slow you down. I'm back on track. And so in 2022, early 2022, we will be ready, but I should be ready in the fall. I should be ready now. And I'm not, because I slowed down out of fear. People are like, oh, you slowed down because of military opportunity. Not at all. I slowed down because I'm like, who's going to want to purchase this franchise?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you're the first. And there aren't going to be a lot of early adopters. You're going to struggle until you can you're not an Orange Theory. I kept hearing that. So, and you're the first. So nobody's really going. And it wasn't until the franchise consultancy, all the leadership, everybody on my team got on a call and said, stop talking to them. We're the experts. This is what you need to know. And they showed me documented evidence of trailblazing franchises.
But how'd you get to the point where you paid the money to the franchise guys and then the doubt comes? Like, it's usually the reverse.
No, because I was excited and I was doing my homework. It was the people talking to me. people, from, large major companies getting on the phone with me saying, hey, I work at such and such bank and I'm over the franchise, department, and these are the portfolios of the people who franchise that are successful. Your franchise isn't set up for success. Your story sounds good, but yeah, I'm a franchisee and I have 7 locations of this and I wouldn't invest in you. I would not be an early adopter because your salon isn't $1 million+ revenue a year.
I know, but fuck off. Fuck off. I've already put the money down, so I'm doing it no matter what. I don't want to, I know it's a sunk cost, but yeah.
Well, Dana, where did you end up? Where did your thinking end up? Could that person be right, or have you concluded that person is wrong?
Again, I followed the 4 tenets of Jay's.
Who cares?
Well, who cares? I mean, I think Jay would tell you that you do have to consider an opinion like that. That's somebody who is doing it themselves. They could be right.
And I did. And there were questions that I asked him about my business, and he was stumped. And then that's when the 4th tenet came in. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Okay.
You own a wireless company, a wireless repair store. You have no idea how much money these women spend on getting their hair done. You don't see how many inquiries I have just from 2 articles being put out.
But Dana, you would agree that your case gets better the more stores you have open doing well.
I agree. And so, and that's what I'm saying. That's why what the questions of doubt, that's why they hit me, because they weren't wrong. They were just misinformed. He wasn't wrong. I mean, yeah, would I love to have 7 locations right now and then just drop down the 6 figures to franchise? Sure. But my franchise consultancy said most of our most successful trailblazing franchises didn't have the money to have 7 locations. And they said Dry Bar, first location, they franchise after 1. Massage Envy, first location. Massage Heights, first location. All of these companies, they said, now look at them. Stop listening to them. Listen to us. And let's get to work.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like there's a bit of paralysis in terms of thinking too big instead of just taking the next step.
What is the next step?
The next step, and I couldn't have praise clap to Laura. Yes, the next step, literally church clap, sister with her head down, waving her hands in the pew.
Quit thinking
right?
so much.
Right. Stop thinking about the CEO you need to be and understand who you are today. And you are enough
100%.
For the next step today. So the next step is getting through the documents of the operations manual, the training manual, which you can do in your sleep. I just had that call and I was answering questions left and right. It was easy.
So I got a question. Do the franchise guys know about the military thing and vice versa?
Yep, they sure do.
And they're not worried by that at all?
The franchise consultants were, but I'm not in a place where that's taking my time, right? The franchise in the military wants to make sure that none of these locations will be franchises. And I think I'll ask you a question. What do you mean by worry? What do you mean that they're worried?
Well, just based on what I've heard so far over the course of the year, the military thing seems like an entire birthday cake to eat by yourself. And the franchise thing seems like an entire birthday cake to eat by yourself. And I just think that there's going to be a capacity problem at some point to really do these 2 opportunities.
If it's just me and 2 or 3 other people, yes, there's going to be a capacity problem. But we're going to bring on the people to help me.
You just started by telling us that your team fell to pieces and you can't get them to do what you asked them to do.
I'd be worried if I were opening 5 locations tomorrow or within the next 6 months. I'd be worried. And I'd have to find or need help finding the person who was better than me. Like they say, hire somebody better than yourself.
Look, I'm not crazy. I'm not a CEO, okay? And I'm not super successful.
Wait, you are a CEO.
Yeah. I think I'm firing myself. I'm just going to be owner operator. But
are you going to hire someone else to be the CEO?
Do we need a CEO for a business this size? That's what I'm coming back to. But anyway, I've had a track record of 20 years of a profitable business. And I have operated, Dana, by jumping first and asking questions later throughout our entire career. So I probably would have done what you did and put the money down and jump, and knowing intuitively that this franchise thing is the right thing to do, I'd put the money down and I'd sign my name on the paper before I had a chance to second guess myself and before I had a chance to let all the doubt sit. And so then I would have to, my pattern of behavior is then it forces me to move forward while the doubt is creeping in and recognizing I don't have the skills. I have not mastered that skill. I don't have the team. Oh, well, I better figure it out, and
you'll figure it out.
Yes,
you'll get it together.
You will figure it out. The only thing that's going to stop the only thing that's ever stopped me is when I don't take the next step forward. Just take the fucking next step and it will work out. You're smart. Smart people, you don't have to figure everything out before.
But I think you do need to know what that next step is. You need to have a plan, and
exactly.
It's more complicated for you, Dana, because you have the two opportunities we've talked about, plus the software technology, which we've talked about in previous episodes. What is the plan to get both the military thing moving forward and the franchising thing moving forward simultaneously?
Great question. Right now, my priority is making sure that Midtown Detroit is a profitable location and that it's running well. The next priority is the franchising, making sure that we're getting through the franchise process, which is some months away. I'm not in it alone, right? So I have a company I'm working with that is helping me with the military, understanding that world, understanding how the setup is, what would work for a business owner and what wouldn't. I'm not in it alone when it comes to the franchising piece. Ashley, who has worked with me and who has operations experience with franchising, that is very much a part of her wheelhouse. And that's enough for today. When I asked the franchise consultancy, where am I with my support team? Do I have enough? Do I need to start looking for more? Because this is what I'm strong at and this is what I'm not. They said, you already have one person on deck. You're ahead of the game. At this phase, they will let me know based on the time they spent with me and what I need to do, who I need to bring on and when, what I'm capable of doing and what I need to bring on. I'm with you, Laura. Yep. It's a lot I don't know today, but I'm not going to forsake this opportunity because I'm not where I need to be. I believe this opportunity will help get me there.
And you'll become a CEO.
We're almost out of time. Dana has just kind of given us her priorities going forward into next year. I'm curious, maybe Paul and Laura, you can kind of do the same. I guess the question I would ask, starting with you, Paul, is are you playing offense or defense?
No, we're playing offense. I can't, in my mind, getting this GSA contract is a pretty big event for us because we've been doing significant business with the government for years, but we also turned down about 2/3 of the inquiries we get because we didn't have a GSA contract. So this is the next level for us, and it presents opportunities just to expand the operation in terms of production, but also to expand our marketing and think about it a different way. Because we've been dependent on Google leads for almost all of our business for many, many years. And this is the first alternate channel where business would come outside of that. And I'm in this kind of long-term battle with my industry and that we do business just a different way than everybody else does. And I think that we're going to be able to bring that same approach to the GSA sales, and it should be very successful.
What are you referring to when you say you do business in a different way than everybody else?
Well, as I explained at the beginning of the podcast, the whole pricing, quoting, discounts, all this other nonsense.
But you said you changed that to adjust to the way the others do it.
Well, that was just to get the contract. That's just what had to happen to get through that little hurdle. Now we've got the contract, and we can go back to dealing with our clients the way we like to deal with them. And I think that the pandemic has probably been a huge favor for us because I have a feeling that it's knocked a lot of our competitors into a bad place. People who were doing 100 million in business are probably doing 40 million, and they won't be able to manage that, whereas we are going to be around to pick up the pieces of those markets.
Laura, how about you? Are you playing offense or defense?
We are definitely playing offense and have been playing offense actually for a couple of years with the acquisitions and now with the new building and the expansion in retail. So our focus is, it's so funny. I saw in the morning report the other day, the section about how e-commerce companies are now thinking that they should really have brick and mortar. And I'm like, damn it, we have been saying that. I've been saying that for so long. We've had all these business experts say, why do you still have a brick and mortar? Why do you have a brick and mortar? Like, if it's not the most profitable, why do you do it? I'm like, because it's the heart and the soul of the business. And two, you get to leverage inventory that way by having like 2 channels. Anyway, so we're doubling down on retail, over the next year.
In the store that exists in the new building that you just bought, or are you thinking of opening other locations as well?
We've always been thinking of opening other locations. We'll see. We're going to open a location in Texas, a factory store. So we'll see how that goes, and then see. I'd like to, kind of like Dana, I'd like to fine tune this location here in Reno and see what we can learn and put some processes in place kind of in preparation for perhaps opening another location someday, maybe in a city that doesn't have a yarn shop. But for the next year, the priority really is just going to be to get these 2 locations open and running.
I could talk to you guys all day, but we are out of time.
Oh, wait a minute, Laura. What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, good question, Paul.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that, Paul.
Why not?
Well, because I asked the questions here, that's why. But it's a fair question. I'm figuring that out. I would like to think I'll be playing offense, but it's kind of a question of how many resources I have, and I'm working on that. Does that answer your question?
Not really. That sounds a little weaselly.
Fortunately, we're out of time, and we're going to have to hold that for a future discussion. But I promise to give you a better answer next time, Paul. My thanks to Paul Downs, Dana White, and Laura Zander, as always. Thanks for sharing, guys. And here it is, your Marketing Minute with Steve Krull of Be Found Online. Here's today's question, Steve. I've heard this term, account-based marketing. What is it, and why should I care?
It's not new anymore. It's been around for about 4 or 5 years, I would say, maybe a little longer. Account-based marketing is getting us into that one-to-one relationship we all want with our clients, Lauren. It's that place where you take your list of ideal clients or ideal accounts and you name them. So let's say you want to work with Gerber, who makes all those baby strollers, right? It's not just advertising to a Gerber, it's identifying the folks at Gerber who you want to speak with. And then it's targeting your marketing and sales activities toward them so that you're sending a message. But it's not just sending that one-directional marketing. It's not putting up a billboard. We're not just putting an ad. It's a combination of things. And one of the big things that's not happening in ABM right now is you used to get gifts in the mail from people that wanted to target you. We don't want to give away our home addresses, so that's sort of slowed down. But account-based marketing hasn't. We're developing lists of our target accounts. We're targeting the people in those accounts. And this is why you need to do it, because as you and I probably spoken several times, we know our customers are out there, the people that we want to speak with. Our job is to go up at the front of this and identify them. So you as a business owner or a marketing manager can go in and identify those accounts and customers. And what you do is you provide a sequence of events and actions to try and target that person. It's not just a one-trick pony. It's not a piece of content, one piece of content and email. It's a structured approach to working all of those contacts at all of those accounts until you get to a yes or no. And that's what account-based marketing is. And I hope I gave a little bit of the why there, Lauren.
All right. If you want to know more, look for Steve's Marketing Minute blog post at 21hats.com. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Wait. Don't leave yet. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like the 21 Hats owners to address, send it to me by replying to your morning report or by email at lauren@21hats.com. That's LOREN @21hats.com. Do it now before you forget. And don't be afraid to tell Jay what you really think. He can take it. And if you got something out of this conversation, help us reach more business owners. Tell a friend. Subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Morning Report at 21hats.com. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Okay, now you can leave. Thanks for listening, everyone.